At some point, we have to stop blaming the companies and accept that our fave idols might be the problem, especially if the idols are free from the company, which is exactly the case for Blackpink. I get it, it's easier to blame the company than to admit that maybe your faves don't care about y'all. But reality doesn't care about your feelings. The four members of Blackpink are clearly focused more on their own solo careers. And to me, it feels like they want to put the whole Blackpink era behind them. Blinks, on the other hand, are not ready for that, considering that they practically forced all four members to go back to Korea for their 10th anniversary. The funny thing is, Blinks are probably the most deprived fandom ever, and they're used to getting the bare minimum. All the members had to do was show up together in some way. Like, if all they did was do a live together on Instagram or Weverse, if they haven't deleted it, of course, and it would have fed the entire fandom for another year. Just showing proof that they still know each other would have been enough. But no, they chose to act as if they weren't part of the biggest K-pop girl group. And not to mention, it's their 10th year anniversary. For such a huge milestone, there wasn't a single acknowledgement. No post, no text, no nothing. And then you remember that Blackpink is still an active group on paper, and it makes everything seem worse. Like, being a part of this group is what launched them into stardom. Without Blackpink and Blinks, they'd be nobodies in the industry. Rather than showing appreciation and some form of respect, the moment they saw that the past comeback didn't blow up, they decided to pack up and leave, never to be seen together again. Well, until their fans decided to force them out, that is. As expected, there were still a lot of fans who are still excusing their actions, saying that if they were treated that horribly by YG, then they wouldn't want anything to do with them either, and that what the members are doing is understandable. But do they also have something against their fans because that's who they were hurting more than anyone else? I really hate it when idols are falsely advertised slash marketed, or ones who falsely advertise themselves. How are you going to make it seem like you're the main writer and director of your song, only for it to get found out that there was a whole team behind you? I'm guessing that she probably saw a lot of Western artists doing this and getting away with it, so she thought she would too. But the difference is, Western listeners aren't the same as K-pop stans. Western stans don't really dig deep and are mostly there for the music. K-pop stans, however, are very eagle-eyed and over-focus on detail. Since idols aren't necessarily known to be involved in the creative and production process of a song, the promise of an idol getting involved is always going to draw a lot of attention, especially when it's someone like Jennie. There's nothing wrong about having co-writers, it's practically the norm. But when you go about not including their names in the teasers and posters, it shows that you want people to believe that it was a self-written song and a self-directed music video. And it honestly ruins your integrity in my eyes. Maybe Jennie's team thought this would bring more attention to the song, which did end up happening, but I don't think it's in the way they intended or wanted. Because now, people see her as someone who's really desperate to be seen as this deeply artistic person with a creative vision, when she's not really at that point yet. Already, I was heavily side-eyeing how her team keeps putting her name and face up in front of every Dracula poster. You would think she wrote the song, or at least collaborated on it, when in reality, she's just a featured artist. It's very much giving forced, and it's not reflecting too well on her character. And then there was that thing with her album sales, where the numbers weren't matching what she and her team presented them to be. My trust in her has already gone down, and next time when I see written by Jennie, I'm gonna have to go check the credits before I let myself believe she wrote a whole song by herself. And also, this doesn't just apply to her. I've seen a lot of idols being marketed as writers by their company, especially at debut, and it turns out they just change one line, which still deserves credit, but come on. At least in this case, you can definitely blame the company. People aren't hating Hybe, they're hating Hybe groups. If you go online to talk about how Ilit makes music for kids or how Ilit members look too skinny or that they look ugly, you're not hating on the company, you're hating on Ilit, the group. Same thing applies to other Hybe groups. Shockingly, people have a hard time telling the difference. Why is it when it's groups from other companies, K-pop stans can suddenly manage to criticize the company without implicating the groups? But when it comes to Hybe groups, y'all's IQ takes a sudden drop. I remember when Karina from Espa was going viral because of how much they tried to tone up her skin and make it lighter. Everyone in the comments was criticizing SM and the K-pop industry for toxic standards, pushing for idols to have pale skin. But when a pre-debut photo from Yoonjin of Les Sserafim showed that she used to have a tan and eventually had to lighten up her skin tone to reach the beauty standard enforced in the K-pop industry, people in the comments were criticizing and making fun of her, calling her ugly and accusing her of plastic surgery, when all she did was drop the tan and start a Korean skincare routine. It's practically the same issue, but people responded differently. Stop acting as if Hybe keeps setting their groups up, and just accept the fact that you are a horrible human being. And stop being mad when fans of Hybe groups come at you for attacking their faves, and stop calling them company stans for doing that. You attack a group, the group's fans are going to attack you back. If you can't handle that, then stop getting involved. And most importantly, do not try and say that you were only attacking the company, because we all know you weren't. K-pop stans just want to use Hybe groups as their own personal punching bags. The non-existent empathy and understanding shown to Hybe groups is genuinely concerning, and you people need to evaluate before you cause irreversible harm, if you haven't already.